Welcome to the Career Changemaker podcast, where we focus on owning your career journey and making impact through the work that you do. Whether you're looking to pivot, transition into leadership, or reimagine your career completely, this podcast is for you. We'll unpack career development strategies, leadership insights, and the mindset shifts needed to thrive in your career. Being a career changemaker means taking control and shaping your professional path with intention. I'm your host, lawyer turned career and leadership development specialist, Janine Esbrand. So if you're ready for candid conversations that are going to help you grow, keep listening. Hello, and welcome to the show. Today, we are having an awesome conversation about making career transitions. If you've ever felt like you want to make a move, but the stakes are high, you're worried about the sacrifice you're going to make, worrying about walking away from a really great job, a really great role, a really great lifestyle, I want you to lean into today's conversation because I am joined by the amazing Shannon Russell, who is a former TV producer turned business owner turned author, and she shares her journey from working in a dream job to making the decision to pivot into running her own business. Her journey is fascinating. She has some great insights to share. We have a really candid conversation about both of our journeys, and there is lots that you can learn. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Shannon. I don't know. Hi, Shannon. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're here.
Me too, Janine. I'm so happy to chat with you.
It's going to be so good. Before we dive into our conversation, start by just introducing yourself and telling the audience a bit about you.
Sure. So I'm Shannon Russell. I was a television producer for about 16 years in New York City and Los Angeles. And then I became a mom for 2 little boys, and that kind of changed everything. And I decided to produce my own life and head into entrepreneurship. And I opened my first business and saw great success by using my production skills and producing that business. And then I decided to help others kind of leave their 9-to-5 and start a business of their own.
I love that. You said that in such a succinct manner, but I'm pretty sure that transition wasn't succinct.
No, it was not at all.
Tell me a little bit about how you kind of made that shift, because going from a career as a television producer, which for many people would be like a dream role working in New York and LA, like going from that to then saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to figure out something else. What did that look like in terms of you even figuring out what that new thing was going to be or look like?
Yeah, it was my dream to accomplish that and become a producer since I was a little girl. So I just had this epiphany moment one day. I was supposed to go interview Taylor Swift, and I said at the last moment, no, I need to get home for bedtime. And I ran through the city trying to get my bus to go pick up my 3-year-old from daycare. And I was 8 months pregnant at the time, and everything just hit me. And I said, okay, this is not something I can sustain for much longer with a new one on the way. And so I just started thinking then in that moment of what else can I do and how can I use my skills and use it for anything outside of the entertainment industry. And there were definitely missteps. I had my baby. I tried to figure it out. It was a good year plus where I got a 9-to-5 job close to home. I was going for my master's degree thinking maybe I'll be a teacher. That's stable. I was trying all of the different things to see what would fit. And then finally, I said, none of this fits, and let me try to start a business, because really in producing a television show, you're taking an idea and you're bringing it to the screen. Maybe I can take an idea for a business and grow that. And that's kind of what led me into entrepreneurship. But it was a long process to get there. A lot of soul searching and mindset work.
Yeah, because it's like when you see the end product, like I made this transition, often people just think you just jump straight into that. But in my experience working with different clients and also interviewing lots of people, it's often a windy road to get to where it is. And sometimes you take an opportunity in between as you figure it out. And it doesn't have to be the case that you need to know what it is that you want to do before you decide to take the first step. And I think that's what keeps a lot of people stuck, where they're just like, I don't know what it is, so then I'm not going to move. And so it's great to hear that you kind of used the little mini transition to help you to get clarity on like what the bigger transition
Mhm.
is going to be.
Yeah, I think you learn a lot through those mini transitions, those mini pivots. And I definitely did. I learned what I did not want to do and
Hmm.
how I wanted to use my skills in a different way.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So you mentioned that you kind of thought about what skills you have that are transferable and then leverage those moving into a new business. How did you identify the transferability of your skills? Because I think sometimes people really struggle with that, right? They're just like, okay, what else would I do? And then they can't figure out what else they would do, so then they don't do anything. So yeah, for you, when you thought about transferability, how were you looking at that?
I, I was journaling a lot at that time, and I would just write down literally everything I did for those 16 years, and it's communicating with people, taking an idea and bringing it into fruition, managing people, all of, directing on sets, all of that. And I said, well, what else can I do with that? And I think just even writing those skills down, I had a wider view of what I had done because sometimes we're so close to what we do, we think it's not special. Everyone can do it. And when I
Yes.
started looking and I was like, wow, I've run these huge multi-million dollar budgets. Like, I think I can do something for my own self and producing this business and marketing and hiring a team and, getting the idea of the business out there. So once I started really studying, I guess, everything I had done, I started thinking about what I could do using that. And then there was something that I heard on a podcast that just made me say, you know what? I'm going to just dive into a business of my own and see how it goes. So it was really a leap of faith, but also knowing that I did have that background. Like I could do it. I just had to figure out how those puzzle pieces work together.
Yeah. And so what was the business that you started first?
Well, I had a 3-year-old and a newborn at the time, and my 3-year-old was building with Legos and just always, that's when he was the quietest, and I could actually sneak away to do the dishes or clean up. And it got me thinking about STEM education for kids and the idea of helping kids think like engineers. And so I discovered a business called Snapology, which is a STEM education business. And so it was a
Mm,
franchise. And I knew that, as a first time business owner, that the franchise would have that support and kind of that business in a box. And so I chose that route and went for it. And I ran it for 8+ years and I sold it in 2024.
amazing. Amazing. I love that. I love that. When you transitioned from, you know, your role to then being a business owner, what were some of the kind of mindset shifts that you had to adopt or really lean into to go from, okay, I work not in a, I guess that industry is not so much 9 to 5 in the office type situation, but it's still there's structure. And
Mhm.
then you're moving into running your own business. And I guess as a franchise, there is also a bit of structure, but you're still a business owner. So what were some of the mindset shifts that needed to happen for you to be able to show up and grow that business and run it for that long?
Yeah, I think the first one was really that whole career identity piece of saying, okay, I was really successful in this first act. How can I replicate that with this business? And there was so much pressure on me to bring in the money that I had already made in this established career. And I had to really, I guess, reframe my mindset and say, it's not going to happen overnight. Like, I'm not going to do that, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to be successful. So I had to reframe what success would look like. And I had a lot of people around me saying, well, why would you leave that dream career? Why would you do this? Why would you want to change? But for me, I wanted to be that present mom. So that was kind of my why throughout it all. And I just kept saying, I'm going to do this. It's a new adventure. I'm going to be just as successful. And my career is not my title. All of those things I kept telling myself.
Yeah.
And then also the fact that as a business owner, you don't have anyone else to lean on. It was me, myself, and I. And so, again, just giving myself that time of saying, it's not going to happen right away. Take your time, learn everything first, and then you'll grow, and then you'll scale, and then you'll hire that first employee, and then it'll get to the second and third and fourth. But it was just telling myself that there wasn't that deadline I had to hit, but I just had to kind of almost prove it to myself at first.
Yeah. I think it's so important as well to have your why really clear because there will be people that have opinions that don't always see the whole picture or understand fully like your motivation or, the desires that you have. And I think it can be easy to get swayed if you're not anchored in why you're doing this. I remember when I left my corporate lawyer job and I didn't really know what the next step was, but I was like, I want to stay home with my baby and I want to make sure that I'm around for him. And I had some raised eyebrows, which was like, why would you do that? And I'm like,
Mhm.
because it's important to me that I spend, at that time when he was a baby, I just wanted to spend more days of the week with him than not with him. So for me, working like 3 days a week meant that we were together 4 days and I was working 3 days. And that was what I wanted for our family at that stage. And so I had to really lean into that because people always have opinions, right?
Mhm. And you don't wanna be swayed, so I'm glad that you stuck with it too. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, it's hard, but then you kind of like, I know why I'm doing it. And I think whenever I'm working with clients too, it's like, what is the why? And keep that front and center, because when you go on this journey of transition, whether you're transitioning into something else or you're stepping up into leadership, like whatever it is the move is, or you're starting your own business, in the messy middle of it all, if you don't remember why, it's so easy to be like, okay, forget it. I'm not doing it. Throw in the towel. Whereas if you remember why we started this, it's easier to like stay the course, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a moment where I was asked to come and work, MTV Fashion Week in New York City, and I had just started my business, and I think I was stressed, and I went back and I did that for just a day. And it wa felt like I was home and it was easy and I loved it, but then on the drive home or on the train home, I realized I had missed dinner in bed, and that
Mm,
brought me back to my why again of like, "No, that's exactly why I left it." And I write
yeah,
about it in my book because it was such a profound moment that I needed that as that lesson because it brought me back to like, "Nope, I can go and do it. That's old hat, but I want to start, keep on this path for this new venture because I know my
yeah,
why."
yeah. I love it. I love it. And talk to me a bit about the book, because I love the concept of it and how you've tied it into like your previous career in television, because you've got like first act, second act. So share a little bit more as to how that concept came about to like put it into the book.
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to be a writer. That's been something I've always wanted to do. And so when I started taking some online workshop classes and learning how to write a book, I was like, let me just do this so I can help reach people, let them know that they can start over. So the book is called Start Your Second Act: How to Change Careers, Launch a Business, and Create Your Best Life. So it really is
Mm,
about just being able to do whatever it is you want in that second act and
yes.
starting over in any way. Yeah, so I talk a lot about my experience, my clients' experience, and just how you can start over at any age. So I'm hoping that it really resonates with people to realize that you have this great first act, but you're allowed to start over and start something new and not have any regrets at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we are in a season now or in a time where the traditional start a job, stay in the career for the whole of your working life isn't really the thing anymore. Like people are more open to moving around. But I do think that there's still a way to go in terms of people recognizing that it doesn't look bad on your CV necessarily if you've had multiple different roles. Like people worry about job hopping and not looking committed. But I think if you recognize you have transferable skills and you can take what you learn to wherever you're going and you know how to position it, then that's a good thing. I remember, I can't remember where I was going. I was traveling and I sat next to someone on a plane and she was sharing a bit about her journey, and she'd literally changed careers every 10 years. Like every decade she did something new, and she was probably in her 60s. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Like she'd done so much since she was like 20. And I think that's admirable to be able to say, yeah, I did a thing for a while and then I did another thing. And it's also good. It's just like a different stage of me and my professional career.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're just that much more full of a person. You have that many more layers to you. And wow, talk about no regrets at the end of the day because you've done it all. It's so exciting.
Exactly. Exactly. So good. So when you think about kind of like second act and people really embracing that newness or like the opportunity to do something different, what would you say are some of the things that are either mistakes that people tend to make that you've seen in your work, and I want to compare notes and see if it's similar to me, um, or like missed opportunities that people don't notice. Like, what are some of the things that people don't realize about actually pursuing that second act?
Well, I think one is that they can actually start while they're working at the job that they're thinking about leaving, right? They can
Mm,
start doing the research and starting the business or updating the resume and LinkedIn. All of that you can actually do while you're still earning your paycheck. A lot of people, I think that you have to quit, give your notice, and then you can start really diving into it. But
yes.
I think what better of a way to do it than when you're already working?
Yeah.
And then also, I think the fact that they sometimes think it is going to happen overnight and to say, you know what? No, it might take a year or so until you really get into the groove. So you want to be financially and mentally prepared for that as well, I think. And it's hard. It's very scary. It's the whole idea of what will other people think. So you have to make
Mm,
sure that you are, again, going back to your why and you're confident because the more confident you are, the more accepting other people will be, or they can say their comments and it won't affect you as much too. So,
yeah.
yeah, what do you
Exactly.
think? What have you seen?
Yeah, I think also that to your point about like the financial side of things, I think often people can catastrophize and be like, oh, if I leave my job, then I'm not going to be able to like keep my same lifestyle and everything's going to go wrong. And actually, what I've seen is often when I ask clients, like, what is your number? Like, how much money do you actually need? And what is your runway? So if you were to leave today, what do you need to, have you got money put aside, and for what length of time could you be supported? And often when they run the numbers, they realize, actually, I'm all right. I'm all right for 6 months, or I'm all right for up to a year. Worst case scenario, like, we're not saying you're not necessarily going to start earning money within that time, but helping people to really map it out rather than just have it in their head where they're just like, oh, if I leave this job, I'm not going to have anything and my family's going to starve. It's like, no, there's a
Hmm.
whole remit between like where you
Yeah.
want that worst case scenario. So I think that is a big piece of like helping people to look at the practicalities of it and then make decisions from that place. And so, like you said, you can start where you are and then work out how long can I stay, or when do I need to leave based on what the target is.
Oh,
And so I
yeah.
think if you can get people out of their heads and into the practical, that can really like shift their
Oh,
perspective.
yeah. Yeah, and the fact that it can be strategic. It can be, there's some people out there that say, "Oh, just put that date on the calendar and give your notice." And I'm always like, "Oh God, no," because you can actually like do it in a strategic way, like you were saying, like with that map or that timeline, so that you're not causing all this chaos in your family, that you can do it where you know you're going to be okay, or you're planning for the next 3 months, 6 months, year. But it is that planning part that is necessary, I think.
I do think people recognizing that you can be strategic is often overlooked, because even if you've decided, right, I know what it is I want to do next, there may be opportunity for you to get some exposure where you are, to ask if you can get
Mm.
involved in some projects, or maybe, see if you can switch teams. So sometimes there may be opportunities right where you are if you're willing to, take the time to notice them
Yeah,
as
I
well.
love that. Absolutely.
And I'm curious, and this is like more of a selfish question for me because I'm in the process of writing the proposal for my book. How did you find the book writing process? And I think it's interesting for people to hear, because often when you say things like, I started a business, I wrote a book, I have a podcast, like people have this very kind of like, whoa, like how did you do that kind of mentality? And yes, it is hard to do those things, but it's not impossible, right? And it's one of those where it's like, okay, if you decide you're going to do it, you can absolutely do it. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about the book writing process.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you too. I'm so excited because it was definitely a stressful process, but I knew. So at the time when I started writing, I have two kids and I was running two businesses. That was before I sold my franchise. So I was busy. I did not have any extra time. I also had a podcast. So there were lots of things going on, but I knew I wanted to write it because I wanted to be able to reach people who maybe weren't working with me one on one, but
Mm,
needed some help or some inspiration. And so I found a course online that was kind of an accelerator program that every week we met for 90 minutes and we would write and we would do different, like kind of methods of writing and taking breaks. And it
Yeah.
held me accountable because that was the thing I knew with all the things that I was juggling, I wouldn't have written it without that accountability. So I think
Yeah.
it's just for anyone who's listening, it's like really putting that time into your calendar, saying it can be for 30 minutes once a week, whatever you can handle, that's you and your computer, and you're just getting your thoughts out there. And it's, again, not going to happen overnight. It takes time. For me, it was about, I would say, 4 months or so, and I had the first draft done. And
Lovely.
then it was just going to the content editor, the copy editor, the whole process after that. So it took probably a little over a year, maybe a year and a half to get the book out.
Yeah.
It just launched in May of 2025, but I enjoyed it. I realized that writing had become kind of a hobby because my
Mm,
kids are 10 and 13 and they understand that I was writing the book. They're at that age where they understood that, okay, I'm going to go and close the door for 30 minutes or an hour and I'm going to write. And it
yeah.
was exciting for them that I was doing it. And it was exciting for me to just know that that was my time. And instead of
Yes.
scrolling on my phone or something else, I was literally just getting my ideas out. And it was so much fun.
Yeah. So good. That's so good. I love that because those little chunks of time, half an hour, the 90 minutes, they add up, right? And
Yes.
so I think even you just sharing that for those people who are thinking about making some kind of a transition and there is a struggle with the time, it's like if you audit your time, you'll probably find that there's a lot of time wasted, right? That can
Yeah.
be redirected towards this transition project. So I think it's important for people to not just assume because you're busy, you're a parent, you're a carer or whatever, that you can't do the thing that you really want to do. It's like there's a way. You just have to be like, how can I make it happen?
Yeah. And look at your schedule because it'll be different every week. So even if it's just a half
Mhm.
hour here, a half hour there, and it's your time, it's almost like the self care that we need as parents that we never give ourselves. And when you enjoy it, like I really found like that is a new hobby of mine that I truly enjoy. And so it was just taking that time, and anyone else can do it. We're all so busy, but it really is just putting it there, knowing that once a week for however long, this is my time. And it's not selfish because you're working towards that goal. So don't, keep telling yourself that this is something that you're working towards that is going to be exciting for your kids or your parents and your family and others as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I encourage anyone to try to write.
Yeah, I love it. And how has your children, your family, how have they kind of responded to this new season for you as an author and then you're a coach that's very different from your previous business? What has been kind of the response? Because I think often we can assume that there's going to be a negative response, right? Like, oh, people are going to like say this or say that. But there's also the other side where it's like the people that are supportive and what they think and what they have learned in the season as well.
Yeah, I think back when I first left television, there was a lot of the negative or worried about me kind of response, like, why am I doing this? And all these years later now, I have my friends who are still in the entertainment industry who are now coming to me asking me for help. Those are the ones who were like scared and, skeptical. Why are
Yeah.
you doing this? And they're like, you know what? I'm ready now. Can you help me? I think, and then to show that I have the book out and everything else going on, like it's nice to have people say, well, like you were able to do it. And they feel inspired saying, wow, you were able to do it and you didn't destroy your life and everything, is still intact. And I
Yeah.
think the most important people that I want to care about what I'm doing are my two boys. So the fact that they come with me now to book signings and then they know that when I go to speak at different events, like it's all for what I'm trying to do and try to help other women. They're very proud and they were my dedication in the book and they're again still my why for everything. So
Oh, I
yeah, I
love
want to
it.
inspire them to do it.
It's so lovely. And I think the fact that they are that age, like 10 and 13, I don't
Yeah.
know, it feels like full circle moments for me as you describe it,
Yeah.
because it's like part of why you made the shift in the first place was because of them and wanting to be available and around for them. Um, and then for them to now be there for you, I just like that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so
We don't
nice.
even remember, like my 3-year-old doesn't, of course, remember that I missed his first birthday and that I was away for
Oh,
Halloween shooting television shows. Like he doesn't remember. And when he was reading the book, he was like, wait, you met that person and you worked on that? Like he was
Yeah,
reading about that aspect of my career that he doesn't remember because he was so little. He only knows that I've been home to be with
that you've been
him and
around.
I'm had my other businesses. So it is a full circle moment.
Yeah, but there is something beautiful about like bringing them along on the journey. So when I started my business, my son was a baby, so maybe like 6 months in, and then I was like on maternity leave still and dabbling on the side, and then I had my daughter 2 years later, and I remember literally doing Facebook lives and like she would be breastfeeding. So I would have the camera so that she'd just be under and I'd be like talking and stuff because I would schedule them. And then she would wake up and like, I'd have to feed her. And I remember this one time where I was feeding her and I thought I was doing really well. This is a real juggle. Like I'm breastfeeding and I'm doing a live and then her foot, she just had a foot, and they just put their foot up. So her foot just came up and her arm just came up and I was just like, okay, so people are going to know exactly what I'm doing. But I mean, we did it and we made it work. And we were looking at videos the other day and she must have been about 2 or 3. And my business when I first started was called Lightbox Coaching. And in the video, she can't even say it. She's like, hello, Lightbox Coaching. Like she was mimicking what she heard me say. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I remember that. And they remember that. And now they're like, Mummy, you're famous because I have a podcast on YouTube. And I'm like, I'm not famous. They're like, but you are, you're on the internet. I'm like, okay. Anyway, it's just
You
nice.
are.
It's nice to have them just be on the journey and see what you're doing and then get to the place where they're like, oh, you have this whole book or this thing on the internet or people know who you are or you're helping these people. So that's the aspect of building something that I really appreciate and really like.
Me too.
So what are you excited about now in terms of your milestones? It's like you left your job, you then started one business and then you started another business and now you've moved into being an author. Um, what's next on the horizon for you? And what are some of the things that maybe you're excited about for clients that you're working with as well?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think next is really just speaking more. I'm applying for TEDx talks and just trying to get out there and speak more and get that message out there that we have this one life and you don't have to stay in that same lane. You can do what Janine and I have done and start over. I just want to be speaking more with my clients. I'm really focusing on, someone who's in a 9 to 5 and wants to launch the business. How can they just get that business off the ground? And so it's really nice to be able to help women. I just helped one of my clients had just turned 60 and was divorced and she was trying to figure out how she spent her whole career for her ex-husband. And she wanted to do something for herself. And she started this baking business and now she's selling cakes and desserts to restaurants in her community. And just to see someone start over where they thought maybe life was done, and that they were
Yeah.
kind of at this low point is just really inspiring to me. And so if I can help
Yeah.
more women find that, it's a win-win, I think.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I think the thing that I love most about the work that I get to do and coaching incredible humans is one, helping them to see how amazing they are, because often they don't see it. And then two, once they realize and they see the potential, seeing them go off and do the thing. And it's often not even in the 3 months or 6 months that we're working together. It's like a year later when I speak to them and they're like, oh, I just did this, 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 and this. And I'm like, wait, hold on. When we were working together, that was a thing that you said you would never be able to do. And now you're just saying it like it's just yeah, I just spoke on a panel and I just went and did this and I just did that. And it's like, oh, okay, is this where we are now? And this is so good to see the transformation and just know that they did the work, of course, but being able to be part of their journey is the thing that just lights me up so much.
Absolutely. That's so amazing because you're their accountability partner. And I think it's
Right.
hard for us, like you and I think did it for the most part alone, but it's nice to be able to help someone and hold their hand so that they don't get scared and then revert back to what it is that feels comfortable. So it's nice to be able to do that.
Exactly. And be able to just say, look, I've been there, I've done that. And I think that is the beauty of kind of going through the journey and then coaching other people versus kind of just going straight into coaching and not having done other things before. What are some of the things that you do personally to keep your mindset in the right place when things are changing, things are shifting? as a business owner and a mum, how do you stay, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, how do you make sure that you're okay? I feel like we hold a lot. And when you are working with lots of clients, and this is when we're working with clients, we're working on major, like, it's their lives, right? It's a lot for them. Sometimes clients will come on and they're crying. Sometimes they're having a terrible day and you've got to hold space for that. Then you get off a call with a client, and this is me describing my life. Let me know if it's different for you, but I can get off a call with a client and then I have two kids being like, "Mummy, I need you. Yeah, with my homework," or "I don't need this," or they have a meltdown, or they're arguing or whatever. And so you're constantly like serving and supporting, whether it is your family or whether it's your clients. And I think more and more now I'm conscious that I need to create time and space for myself, both self-care, but also just like headspace, right? And reflection. So I'd love to hear from you if that's your experience also, or if there's other things that you are intentional about when it comes to making sure that you can show up
Mhm.
fully for everybody.
Yeah, all of everything that you said, I agree with. And I know those feelings. But more recently, I would say maybe the past 6 months, I started realizing to listen to my body when I feel my stress levels going up or that overwhelm creeping in, that I literally just shut the laptop. Like that I realize I have to
Mm,
shut the laptop, walk out, and do something else to calm down and get me not thinking about the business or, my clients or whatever it is that is taking up that space. And I love to read. And I was reading a lot of personal development and business books. And I said, you know what? I have to start reading fiction. I have to read a good
yeah.
mystery. I have to read a thriller, something that just takes me away. And so that's been my new thing, that if after dinner we'll sit on the couch and my kids will be reading and I'll be reading my book,
Mm,
or they're playing their video games and I'll be reading. So we're still hanging out together, but I have
yes.
that little bit of escape from the day, because I think we need to pay attention to those signs, because we're not going to be doing the good work that we need to do when we do feel those stress levels. So
Mhm.
for me, that's been the best thing, to just walk away. And then when I feel better, come back.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's so, so important. And I think for me, it's been probably since my 40th. So I turned 40 in November. There's a shift. Like I get it
Yeah.
now. I never got before why people say like life begins at 40, but I actually get it now.
Hmm.
And I think that I have been more like, hold on, I've been working really hard for the last 10 years, building a business, raising these babies, and just going, going, going. It's okay to close the laptop sometimes, and it's all right to not be working every evening. Just giving myself permission to have those boundaries. And the thing that I've really enjoyed is adult coloring. That has been my jam. And I injured my Achilles tendon in January, and I basically ruptured it. And so I had like 3 months where I was just at home, cast, boot, couldn't go anywhere. And my coloring book was like literally the thing that kept me sane. And I didn't know, like, I just knew that I needed the coloring book, right? Like if I got stressed or if there was a doctor's appointment that was cancelled, I'd be like, where's my coloring book? I need my coloring book. And I was reflecting on like, why is it that I need this coloring book so much? And I realized that it was a control thing, that with everything going on with like my injury and recovery, like I can't control the pace. I can't control like how quickly and all of that. But what I can control is what color I choose to color this flower, or what, do I want to do it color, or do I want to do lines, or should I do dots? Or like, I just felt like it gave me a level of like something that I could control and make decisions around, because everything else just felt like the decision was taking away from me. And I remember that the last time I really enjoyed coloring was when I was like in hospital getting ready to have my son. So it's like the same thing. And it's only from being able to like slow down enough to reflect that I was like, oh, that's the reason. And I think it's important, if not for, just pleasure, but also for you to just understand like, how is your brain working, for you to have the space and
Hmm.
create the time to be like, oh, okay, that's why that's important to me. Oh, okay, that's why I want to do that. Versus like, I'm just doing the things because I think I should do the things.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I want to try it. That sounds
Oh, it's
fun.
so good. You're going to love it. It's
Yeah.
get addicted. I'm just like, why are you coloring in my coloring book? The kids, I bought my daughter a coloring book at the same time, and she kept coloring in mine. And I was like, excuse me, this is mine.
Yes.
That's my coloring book. I got your own coloring book. But yeah, I highly recommend. It's very relaxing and therapeutic, and because you're focused on the thing, your brain can go other places.
Right.
But yeah, that, and I too, I'm gonna look into doing some more reading, because when I read, it is normally for development and growth or
Yes.
whatever, but not so much like, I probably would do romance novels. I love rom-coms, so I can
Yeah.
imagine that I'd love a good romance novel. So maybe I can commit to doing that and be like, okay, I'm going to read a book just to read the book, not because I'm trying to learn something or grow or develop or whatever, you know?
Yeah. That's where it shifted for me too, because I felt like, well, I'm leaving work, but now I'm reading about work. And it just felt like my brain was never having that relief. So do it. Do the rom-coms, do the romance.
And for those listening, this is the downside of being highly ambitious and motivated, is that you can just be like going, 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 going. And so you have to force yourself to not
Yes.
do those things and create the boundaries for yourself, obviously, when you're working for yourself. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I agree.
so good. I love it. I love it. So what would you say as your closing remark, Shannon, to anybody who is thinking about, has been contemplating making some kind of shift, or, you know, going into starting their own business, and they are scared, they're worried, they're not sure it's going to work out? What are your words of wisdom for them?
I would say give yourself grace and let yourself ponder those ideas and those dreams that you've kind of tucked away, because you do get this one life to live and you're worthy of starting over and finding that other thing that will light you up. And I think that's what we should all be thinking about for our second act, is what will fulfill us and lead us back to our purpose, so that at the end of the day, we don't have any regrets.
Yeah, I love that. So good. And the thing that I would add to that, that I hold on to, is that like the average person spends 90,000 hours at work in their lifetime. And think about that many hours. What are you spending your time doing so that you can get to the place that you said, where you don't have regrets, and where
Yeah.
you've built the type of legacy you want to build, or you've made the type of impact that you want to make. And it all comes down to you just making the decision to kind of pursue a different path if the path that you're on isn't working for you. And it's totally possible. We've both done it, and we've
Mm.
helped many clients to do it as well.
Yes.
So surrounding yourself with examples of people who have done it is a good first step as well.
I'll
So
remember.
where can people find you, Shannon, at the book, connect with you and all that jazz? I mean, LinkedIn, obviously, but where else?
Yep, Shannon Russell career coach, or I'm sorry, Shannon Russell coach over on LinkedIn. And then secondactsuccess.co is my website, where there's links to my book and free resources and all of that.
Yeah. So good. Okay. So we'll put the links to those in the show notes for the podcast. And if you have any questions at all, or any follow up that you want to share, then feel free to reach out to one of us.
Thank you. And Janine, thank you for having me. As I told you, I have been such a fan of you and your podcast for so long. So it's really such an honor to be here chatting with you. So thank you.
Thank you for being on. It's always nice to hear from people who have been listening, because that's the thing. You feel like it's a one-way conversation. Like, I don't know who's listening. And so I'm glad that we're able to like now have this conversation. So thank you, Shannon. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I really loved how Shannon phrased the different phases of your career as acts, and it helps you to recognize that nothing has to be forever, and you reinventing yourself or trying things new or doing things differently is only adding to the richness of your experience over the course of your career. So if you have been looking for a sign for you to really lean into what's next for you in your career and make the pivot that you've been wanting to make, or start on the transition, this conversation was it. So make a start. And if you've been wanting to move forward for a while and you haven't been, now is your time to go and book a call so you can get some support. So you can find the link to my calendar in the show notes, book a call with me, and let's talk about what your next steps are. If you want to reach out to Shannon and learn more about how she supports people with launching and growing businesses, then you can go and click the links to her website, etc. there as well. Thank you so much for listening. That is all we have for you today. We will be back again very, very soon. And until next time, look after yourself and keep moving towards your career goals.